On yet?
We are.
Hi, and welcome to Season 2 of the RSG Podcast. You probably don't even know we exist. We're the biggest podcast, longest running, that nobody's ever listened to.
Longest running.
You like that? 2 seasons longest running. Alright, I'm Ryan Easton.
Keep adding qualifiers for that statement to be true.
Well, I'm gonna keep I'm gonna make a promise this season. I'm gonna have a new qualifier at the beginning of every single one of them. And then hopefully at the end, if I remember them all, I'll say them all in a row. But let's not get our hopes up.
Right.
All right, I got Mr. Roby Watson with me here.
How's it going?
Mr. Nathan Connor.
Salutations.
Oh, interesting greeting. Salutations.
Well,
Anyway,
fuck you.
true.
Yeah.
True.
No,
It's not
I prefer fuck you.
Yes, you do.
It's a little less uppity.
Yes.
It's more to the point. Let you know where you stand.
Right.
Well, we have. Well, I could lie to you and say it's a very interesting show, and you're going to love every bit of it. But yeah, you're going to love every bit of it. We're going to talk about a little bit of WildStar. We've been playing pretty religiously for a while. Not disappointed. M15, Magic the Gathering, free tabletop. Movies, of course, Turtles, Lucy, Guardians of the Galaxy. Is there any other movies that came out?
And one of these do not.
Dude, there was a long dead patch in there.
Oh, man.
Wasn't really any good movies came out.
Yeah. Let's see, what else? We'll start with that for a while. If we think of something else.
That'll fill it up. That'll fill it up.
Right.
Space. All right. Well, to start us off, you guys want to talk about a little bit about WildStar, since that's something we've been doing a lot about?
I do.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's do that.
Okay, I for one am thoroughly enjoying the housing in WildStar. I mean, I have probably had close to 100 gold, and I've spent it all on various items and walls and shinies for my house.
Yes, for the giant beer house.
Oh, it's amazing.
What I like to call WildStar is disappointingly good.
Oh, disappointingly good.
Disappointingly good, because it is so good and challenging that nobody wants to fucking play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. It's really hard if you're not paying attention. Like, if you just come right off a while thinking, another MMO, this is going to be great. Even Guild Wars, it's harder than Guild Wars.
Dude, if I get into one more group with some rando DPS who's like, I don't even have stun on my bar, it's not part of my regular rotation, I'm going to seriously murder someone.
Well, yeah, as a bit of a
Stun should
background,
always be on your bar.
as a bit of a background, there's no hard crowd control in this game where you can, sheep something or sap something and it stays CC'd or crowd controlled for the duration of most of the fight. In this particular game, you rely on very short-term CC, but anything can be hit with a stun or an interrupt, just about anything. But it absolutely requires you to be on time with your interrupts, because some people have what they call interrupt armor, where if you don't interrupt them during like a particularly large move, it's going to kill your entire party. So you have to blow through that interrupt armor with interrupts until you can actually interrupt them. And it takes a lot of coordination, and unfortunately, it's not a really conductive mechanic for pickup groups.
Yeah, it's not very conducive at all.
True. But do you think it's kind of good, though? I mean, if you think about it long term, say 4 or 5 months from now, when people either adapt or they quit, so then you're left with the people who can actually play.
Yeah, well, it has to take 4 or 5 months.
If they make it that long, you know what I mean?
People are already quitting because the game is just too difficult. Even
yeah.
in the solo world, if you don't get out of, the telegraphs in time, you will die.
That's true. No, you're absolutely right.
I laugh at all the people who are like, well, the telegraph is going to make it too easy. It's going to be too easy. I'm like, no. The telegraph just let you know that you fucked up and you're about to die.
It's a warning. Heed the warning. Don't heed the warning. It's up to you.
Right. It's a difficult game to play, but it is immensely fun and rewarding if you do well at it. Because the challenge makes it feel like you're doing, so much better when you actually are successful. But it's not easy to play with pickup groups, and that's like the biggest downfall for the game, is that the rest of the MMO world has become too easy. Just
Yeah.
too simple. And maybe I'm one of those guys back in my day, but back in my day, crap was hard. Things were hard to do. You didn't saunter into Molten Core and WoW and just win.
No.
And you know what? WoW doesn't even touch what you had to deal with in EQ.
No.
That's true. I've heard about the healing chant rotations.
Dude, I look at WildStar as the spiritual successor to EverQuest, in that it is challenging and it is hard, but when you win at something that's more challenging, it feels better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In WoW, especially like in fucking pug raiding in WoW, it was just annoying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like LFR or whatever it was a joke, and it got to the point where it's like the only reason why we're not going to win is because I have to have 24 other people here who are also equally not paying attention. Nobody's trying to do anything right. Everyone's just like, I'm just here for the ride and the free loot, because it literally was just free loot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, WildStar is really, really good in that aspect. I really like the character customization as far as the moveset goes, what you're doing at the time. You can tailor your character down to the very moves that they have to do what you need to do at the time. And it actually works out really well, because one of the most annoying things about MMOs in general is I'm going to use a buzz term here, but button bloat. Yeah, button bloat. Like, you just have too many buttons. Yeah, you're a warrior, and yes, you have all these sweet tanking abilities that might be on your bar somewhere, but you're DPS, spec DPS geared, and that really wasn't. They became useless, pointless buttons that you had to have on your bar just in case.
Right.
And even then, you were just not that good at
Right.
You're just as squishy. Yeah, you're just as squishy as anybody else. In this particular game, you can cut down on the button bloat by only having 8 buttons and then customizing those buttons for whatever you're doing. Now, does that give you less utility?
Yes.
Well, technically, yeah, but not effectively.
Right. You effectively have more utility in reality, because you can switch to like literally whatever you want to do. I did an instance on my rogue the other day, or my stalker, sorry, and nobody else was interrupting at all. So I literally put all 4 of the interrupts that I have onto my bar, and I was able to take care of all the interrupts that needed to be done. I didn't do squaw for DPS, but in reality, you're only going to need 4, maybe 5 buttons to keep your DPS rotation up. I mean, at least for the classes that I've played, it seems like 4, 5 at the most keep my DPS rotation at more than an acceptable level.
The fact of the matter is, because if you interrupt a mob in this game when they're in the middle of a move, of a telegraph, you do way more damage to them. So you actually increase your DPS by being better with your interrupts. And having that on your bar and losing 1 DPS rotation button that probably you couldn't even effectively fit into your rotation in the first place.
Correct. Nobody's cooldowns are long enough for them to need all 8 buttons to be DPS buttons.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And there's a plethora of abilities to choose from. So it's not
really
like
is.
Yeah, there's a ton. And
they're all decent stuff too. There's a few that are kind of throwaways, but I haven't really come across one that I didn't enjoy using at some point or another.
Well, even the ones that are considered throwaways have a purpose somewhere in the game. A lot of those ones that you're talking about are for PvP.
Yeah, and since I don't PvP yet on my character, I don't even waste the gold on them. I was at first. I was buying them up. Then I'm like, I don't ever use these, and that's a gold a pop.
Right. But
so
I mean,
pops nothing, bro. What they can start getting like 5 and 8 apiece.
No, I'm good. I don't want to.
That's awesome. But I mean, that aside, you also have customization not only in what abilities you're using, but the way the abilities interact with each other, because you can spec out your abilities by using ability points to either increase, the throughput of damage or healing, the tankiness, whatever needs to be, whatever the ability does, it just gets better. And then on top of that, at certain points in the progression of that particular ability, it can change how that ability works with other abilities, giving you synergy.
Oh, another buzzword.
Yeah, another buzzword.
Let's think outside the box.
Now, see, I haven't seen that so much with the classes that I play. I understand that is the way it works with Medic, but I haven't really seen much synergy with my other abilities, and like the Engineer or the Stalker or whatever. Most of them just seem to be like your big ones, your big level bonuses or whatever, like the 5-point ones, just seem to make your abilities that much better, or they add a different facet to your ability.
Well,
Like the engineer has one that adds adds a wound to the effect as well, so that people inside the wound take damage. So
Nice.
you have like a dot effect to it as well. You know.
Right. Well, I mean, some of those are like that for the medic as well. I guess. I mean, obviously, I play the medic. It's probably my main class, and the medic has a lot of synergistic facets to it when you start putting in more points into the ability, simply because you get more actuators, or it uses less actuators, and then it gives you free actuators to use your abilities more. Just all kinds of different stuff. So.
Right. And that's not so much the case with the engineer and the stalker, especially, that I've found.
Right.
So,
Right.
but there are a lot of them that I like, and I will find myself, depending on what I'm doing, switching up my ability points. Pushing them up and down, because I need this ability to be better. Let's say, for instance, like on the engineer, his standard stun is a 15-second cooldown, but you can spec it out. It's 5 level, lets it reduce, take off 2 interrupt armor at a time.
Right. Well,
So if I'm going to fight like an armor, if I'm going to fight a guy with 2 interrupt armor, like in the real world, I can drop that. In between that and my bruiser bot, I can then stun them when I need to.
Right.
All by myself. So, but against regular mobs, I don't need that. So I'll drop it back down to none into that, because I don't care about the little bit of damage it does. I just want to stun on it.
Right. Well, and it's just one of these things that that gives the game a lot of depth and playability, because now you're looking at a solo spec, solo PvE, solo PvP versus group, pre-made PvP versus group PvE, all kinds of different stuff you can do.
Well, they have like a battleground. Sorry to kind of switch it up a little bit, but they have a battleground or whatever. It's like 80 versus 80, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't there something like that? Maybe that's at like 50. I believe
I think it's at 50.
It's at 50.
I haven't gotten that high up yet.
It's not a battleground. They do have a new battleground they just released called Sabotage, but that's beside the point. What you're talking about are holdouts.
That's right, holdout. Yep.
Yeah, and holdouts are giant PvE, and we're not that high yet. Honestly, we're taking our time with it. But
Yeah,
a lot of the holdouts are bases that work a lot like your housing, in the sense that they have a lot of sockets, and then you can place different defenses or bosses. Perhaps if you've gotten into an area and killed a boss, you can now place that boss in somewhere, as a defensive point in your base, and now people who are invading your holdout have to fight against that boss. So it's pretty cool. And I don't think it's 80 on 80. I think it's 80 total, so it would be like 40 on 40.
Yeah, I believe 40 on 40 is correct.
Wonder where I got 80. Anyway. But I'm enjoying it. What do you think of the crafting system? I haven't really messed around too much, and I've been kind of slowly leveling up my outfitter, and it's a lot of fun. I'm getting a lot of of the bear, of the boar type stuff, but it's fun. I mean, I like how you can scavenge your stuff, turn around and make more stuff, because you got the actual items you need from the scavenging to make that same item or whatever.
Yeah. I really like the crafting system myself. Most of your items are going to be basically of the bear, of the boar stuff. I like that you start off, especially with the outfitter, the tailor, the people who make the armor, and the people who make weapons. Especially, a lot of stuff you start off with, you end up with a locked stat, which sometimes kind of sucks, because if it's not a locked stat you want, if you get locked tech on your pistols, there's nobody really who uses pistols who tech is really helping out a lot. You'd rather have some finesse or some insight or something else there. That's kind of annoying, but you need to make so many combines to skill up and get the experience, and so many to get the chiefs to unlock the next level of those weapons or whatever.
Chiefs.
Yeah. It's worth it. I don't really care that much. It doesn't terribly bother me, except for when I'm trying to sit down and make a weapon specifically for what I want right now.
The crafting system is pretty neat. It has a lot of things that I like about it. I think the first thing is all the weapon and armor crafting in the game is actually really fun. I enjoy that. However, the problem is with some of the other sort of crafting where it's a
architect and technologist.
Yeah, it ends up being like a battleship type of game, and it's really, really frustrating, because the problem is that you have this grid, and on this grid are the different things that you might want to craft. Okay, let's say you have a basic, I can make a potion. Okay, maybe you want this potion to heal you over time as opposed to heal you all up front. Okay, well that has a particular, it's a circular graph and it has a particular point on the circular graph, and you use additives which you have to buy per additive. Now the good thing is that the additives are all within the UI, so it's easy to get the additives, but you have to get the additives, and that moves your target on the circular graph, and you have to move it to the point on the graph where the item you actually want to craft is. Now, the problem is that it gives you like a circular target area, and you can hit with anywhere within that circular target area. So what you deal with is a lot of, even if you use, let's say I use 2 screws and a light bulb, just as an example, for additives, and I'd use it in that order: 2 screws, light bulb. I get it the first time, awesome. Second time, I use the exact same thing: 2 screws and a light bulb, but because it hits anywhere within that target area, I'm way off, and I don't make what I want to make.
Yep.
And you have to dump a lot of money and time into crafting if you're doing one of those 3 crafting types. Unfortunately, I'm an architect, so it becomes an exercise in frustration a lot of times.
Yeah.
Well, the money isn't that much more expensive than you end up having to drop to do any of the other ones, I don't think.
No, it's not
because
so much
you do have
money.
to drop the cash for reds or fluxes or whatever else, depending on what else you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not so much.
Those are more expensive individually, but it evens out in the end. You know?
It's really not so much the money, just getting
the
unlucky.
utter randomness of it all.
Right. Now, I mean, there are a couple good things to help offset this. So that helps. The first thing being, as you level up your crafting, because it's kind of like its own separate leveling system, right? As you level up your crafting, it becomes easier and easier to make the lower level crafting items, even if they're somewhere weird on the grid. They become bigger targets, so it's much easier to hit them.
Right.
The other thing is you get talent points, and these talent points will help you to create a certain type. Like, for instance, one of the subtypes of items you can make for architect is organic things like logs or patches of grass or bushes or stuff for your house. Well, I can spec it out so I can make those items more easily. Because you get your own talent points for crafting, which is pretty neat. And lastly, there are books that you can get that make all certain types of crafting easier to hit for that particular crafting session.
Right.
Okay.
So
like little catalysts and stuff.
Right.
Technologist is much the same way.
It is. It can be very frustrating. Cooking is fortunately something that's not that big a deal because everybody gets it. Hardly anybody actually uses it, but everybody gets it, and most of the food you can get, the stuff that's easy to get, will still give you a grit increase, which is just a straight health buff, which everybody kind of wants anyway. So
Right.
Yeah, cooking's not that bad, but architect and and technologist have it a little bit tougher because they might want to make a specific item, and a lot of that specific item, and it's just a pain to do.
Yeah, it's more random, I think, than just the I decided to make this item and I have a locked random stat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I only random once, you have 3 chances for your randomness to screw you over.
Yeah, 3 chances, and on top of that, I making a completely different item potentially.
Right.
You're always making a gun.
Yep.
But I could be making, instead of a really super awesome spotlight that I want to put on my giant floating eyeball, I'm instead making a small, tiny little a lantern that just, it's completely different looking. So it's a totally different item. So.
Well, the good thing for that, though, is that you can still put that on the market and sell it. I'll never be able to sell a tech and a tech and grit pistol or whatever, because
that's true.
No spell center's ever going to want that.
You can't put it on the market, but the problem is a lot of those items, because if you miss, you're just making the base item. the base items sell for nothing. So
Right.
just like your items, your best bet is to just salvage it. Just
salvage it and
for components.
get
That's
some
what
of
I've
that
been
aspect.
doing. I mean, I don't even try to wear what I have. Most of it I just salvage. Or if I'm out of cash but I got a ton of raw stuff, I'll just make a bunch of stuff, turn around and sell it, and get some gold to feed my house building addiction. Which I can't believe.
Really super fun.
Yeah, but I was so disappointed. And you can talk to Connor can confirm this. There's a limit per item that you can put on your block, and I guess I am at my limit when it comes to lights. So I can't put any more lights down.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's like, there's not even really that many there. Like if you look at my house, I mean, there's a lot, but they're necessary lights. It's a dark environment. You need lights so you can see. You don't want to trip and fall. Those granite floors are a little uneven.
Yeah, you don't want to RP trip and fall.
Right. Did you guys see my latest edition?
You look RP ridiculous, man.
If you get a chance to log on, go in there and check out my bed that I put atop of the bar.
Oh yeah.
It's got 2 cameras on it. Like it's the one you get from the Moonshine Challenge. Like it's got this sexy, very Quagmire-esque style to it, and then there's like 2 cameras taped to the post, shooting where the pillows are, and there's like a little screen.
Did you just say sexy and Quagmire-esque in the same sentence, like as describing each other?
You don't think that way?
No. We carry on though.
Quagmire from Family Guy?
Explains a lot I
am talking about Quagmire from Family Guy. Who else but Quagmire?
Who he thinks is sexy, apparently. It's that chin. It does it for him.
Yeah. Well, what can I say? I have a bro crush on Quagmire. Anyway.
It's either that or Quagmire's rapiness that you find attractive. I can't decide what it is.
Definitely rapiness.
Sometimes I just like to submit. What?
Gloss over, pretend I didn't even ask the question. Just
No, but there's a monitor too, so you can unfortunately you can't see what the camera sees, but it gives you that illusion that you're making home movies.
Nice.
That's pretty funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I want to talk, if we can switch gears a bit, to a little bit about a different game, and that I've been playing a lot of, and I know Roby's played some of, and that's Hearthstone.
I actually played a little bit.
Did you?
I did.
Wow.
I loved it too.
It's
I
a
played
good
for like
game.
3 hours straight.
It's a fun game.
Mm.
Listen. We'll switch. We'll go into that. The reason why you're not as a big a fan of it, Roby, but I want to talk a little bit about it because they last month began releasing separate wings for their first adventure pack, which was Naxxramas, which if any of you aren't familiar with, is the last raid of vanilla. Wow, World of Warcraft.
Oh, and a lot of people don't even really know about it because it came and went so fast.
Well, it was so freaking hard that most people never even got into it.
Right.
They were well behind the times on that and still working on Blackwing Lair or whatever. But,
we killed 2 bosses in like 3 months. That's kind of how hard it was.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. But anyways, it was actually really fun. But the reason why I'm interested in it is because number one, it's creating AI opponents, which are really hard and frustrating at the same time. But more than that, with this comes 30 new cards, and for me, it's interesting because we're seeing the current meta of the game, which is heavily favored for hunters, get switched around a bit. Yeah, you see hunters like constantly. A lot of hunters. But I'm kind of glad that this is happening because the real issue that has been plaguing the game recently is that it has a very dedicated following, a large following, and a lot of pro players now because it's become a very competitive game, especially in Korea. But people are just copying pro decks and using them, which is really frustrating. Yeah, it's really, really frustrating because there's some cards that are so powerful that, if you don't have those cards or, something to deal with those cards easily, then it just becomes an uphill battle, and it's really, really annoying. But now that they've added these cards in, it kind of shakes it up a little bit. Nobody knows exactly what's really great and what's not right now, so it's allowing more variation and more personal, I guess, touch when you're building your deck. You're not just copying and pasting, or if you are, it might not stack up because somebody's found something amazing.
This is my same problem with the whole esport meta in general.
Like every esport meta?
Yeah. Like everything, and it's the same for like Match the Gathering, which isn't even entirely online. But people just want to win. They don't want to play for the fun of it. Most people just want to play to win. So they'll find something that works, that somebody else came up with and said, I can steal that idea, go to Amazon, buy all the cards I want, play that guy's deck, and come to my local comic shop and beat everyone else.
Right.
Test your might.
Well, there is good news and bad news.
Same with League of Legends, with the meta in League of Legends is the same way, affected by the same thing. Hearthstone's the same way.
Right.
Somebody sees something online and everyone ends up copying that same thing, and then the meta changes because someone else who's pro comes up with something to beat that, and then everybody switches to that thing.
Right. Well, there's good news and bad news here. I think, with Magic anyway. The good news being that Magic is a high enough skill cap of a game that even if you just copy somebody's deck and come and play at the local comic book shop, if you're not good, you're still going to lose badly.
This is true.
You're still going to lose if you don't have a good, solid, fundamentals. Unfortunately, Hearthstone is a simple enough game to make it fun, but it's also so simple that a lot of the players are just strong by themselves. Now, don't get me wrong, a pro player is almost always going to beat out somebody who's not pro because they're just that much better. But
right, because they assess the situation better and they understand what the right play is.
Right.
Yeah.
But the skill cap is the skill cap has to be skill gap has to be very large for that situation to come about. If it's not there, if that skill gap isn't there, let's say I'm a bit better, or just generally better than another person. If they have better cards and just a copy deck, they're going to win most of the time.
Right.
And that's really the issue that I have with Hearthstone is that it doesn't have enough variation in it right now. And I'm hoping that this will fix things as we get more of these adventure packs. Hopefully some new mechanics and just kind of shake things up, make it a little bit better.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I really enjoy what I played a little bit of. I had a lot of fun with it. I mean, granted, I just did the first 10 challenges where you fight Ilan at the end, and then I think I beat the Hunter and got the Hunter deck. But I mean, it was fun. I enjoyed it. I could see if I was serious about it, where that stuff there would be a big issue to me. But I don't think I've played another person yet. So.
Well, I play a lot of ranked and a lot of arena. Arena is probably one of my favorites because it's sort of this leveling field of really. Its skill and knowledge of the game is really where it comes into play because it's a random deck. You're getting a random deck, like everybody else.
You're drafting your random deck.
You're drafting your random deck. So your knowledge of the game is really what fuels how good your deck is because you're drafting the best possible cards and then finding combos within those cards and little variations that just synergize well with other cards. So I really like Arena for that reason. The other thing that's really plaguing Hearthstone right now that Magic really doesn't have an issue with are bots. There are a lot of bot players out there.
It's true.
Yep.
I don't see them so much in kind of the middle zones, but in the beginning zones, I couldn't get trees or plants or anything. These things would just be everywhere.
Wow, you just switched right back over to... Yeah, I was talking about...
Oh, wow, I certainly did, didn't I?
I was like, what the hell is he talking about?
Shiny.
Trees and plants? What the...
Anyway,
we're talking
I'm
about
sorry.
Hearthstone, right? That's what we're talking about? I zoned out for a minute, but I didn't
I'm going to
think
go sit in my corner here. You kids have fun. I'll be back.
Yeah, but there are bots who will play Hearthstone, and I don't understand what the point of botting is in Hearthstone.
I don't know either. They're, I guess, ranking up, I suppose, but if you get to rank 20, you get the only, you can get the only thing that's worthwhile from botting, and getting to 20 is super easy.
Right.
Just about anybody can do it if they play just enough games.
If I just sit down and play 10 games, I can get to 20. I'm not that good.
Yeah, it's really, really easy. But it's still a pretty fun game, and I would highly suggest anybody try it because it is free. It's free to play.
Yeah.
And if you have friends, it's even better because at that point, you get to play with friends and you get to create decks to pit against them, as opposed to just wanting to win online, and that's your only goal.
Right.
Copying other people's decks. So I would suggest it. I think it's a great game. But as far as card games go, it really has nothing on Magic as far as as far as how not just competitive, because Magic's been competitive for many, many years, but also how I don't want to say complicated, but it is much more complicated.
Well, in Hearthstone, I never have to worry on my turn about what my opponent's going to do, because he's not going to do shit. He's going to sit there like a log until I say I'm done, and then he's going to do something while I sit like a log and say I'm done.
Right.
Whereas in Magic, on my turn, if you have mana available, I have to worry about what you might do.
It's true.
Well, and the other thing is, in Hearthstone, there are very few decks that can work off of the idea that creatures aren't a resource. In Hearthstone, creatures are a resource. Much like your mana. They are a resource that you have to use. But in Magic, that's not quite as true, because you can build entire decks that have literally function almost entirely without creatures.
Yeah.
With very few creatures. Or even if they do have creatures in there, the creatures aren't the focus of the damage that you're, that you win with. It's not your win condition. But that's why, Magic is really exciting, because it's an ongoing Magic the Gathering. I mean, years and years and years, like 20 plus years now. Magic has been very popular. And I think we're just coming into M15 now, just released.
Yeah,
a little while ago.
The good with the first half of it or something like that, or the first block.
No, M15 is the next core set.
The next core set, yeah. The next expansion. What is it called again?
Khans of Tarkir is the next expansion.
Yeah, that's right.
Khans of Tarkir. The first block for that
really
expansion.
good too.
Well, it's very Mongolian, which is really cool.
Yeah. And they have a couple of spoilers out online for that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
There's that Zergo Helm Smasher guy we looked at the other day, who is a very interesting aggressive card. I could see myself building a deck around Zergo.
Yeah.
But let me read you a couple of these other ones. They're adding in straight out Tri-lands. Nomad Outpost enters the battlefield tap to add red, white, or black to your mana pool.
Holy crap! That's it? It just comes in tapped, and you can tap
just
it for...
tapped. You can tap it for any of those three.
Dual lands are just going to be pointless for quite some time now.
Yeah, for the most part, because you might as well have a third option.
Right.
I mean, I'm still going to use my... well, your gates are going out entirely now.
Right, gates are
because
out of the...
when the new block kicks in, everything in Return to Ravnica goes out.
Right, goes away.
And
in standard.
Standard, right.
Yeah.
They added, they're bringing back Morph, of course, which we know. And there's a card here called Thousand Winds. He is a 5/6 elemental creature for blue, 2 blue, 4 colorless for casting cost. His Morph cost is 7. So if you throw him down, you can pay 3 and throw him down face down, and then pay 7 later to morph him. And it says, when Thousand Winds is turned face up, return all other tapped creatures to their owner's hand.
What?
That's delicious.
That makes attacking blue so dangerous.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing I love about blue. Just like, but you have to pay 7 for it, so that's expensive.
That is expensive, but honestly, one of the strongest combinations right now, and will continue to be a strong combination, because it really didn't become strong until, I would say, Theros, is blue-green.
Yeah.
And blue-green, I mean, 7 is nothing with green ramp in there. And on top of that, green can just simply, I fog.
Right.
I fog. Or, in this case, defend the hearth. And now you're tapped out. And now all those creatures are not on the board anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah? No? I'm not into it as much as you guys are. I mean, I'm just getting back into it. I'm having a lot of fun. But these new things that they're coming up with sound really kind of cool. I'm interested to see them play out.
Yeah. They're also adding Prowess, which may or may not be returning. I don't know. But I don't think so.
I don't think so.
So they have this Jeskai Elder. He's 1 blue and 1 colorless for a 1/2. and he has prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn.
Wow. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, great for blue-green as well.
Yeah, amazing.
And great for blue-red.
Yeah.
Whenever Jeskai Elder deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card.
Wait. Say that again?
Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you can draw a card if you choose to. If you do, you have to discard a card as well.
Oh, that's not that bad. That's fine.
No. Yeah. And then they have Mardu Heartpiercer on here as well, who is a 2/3 red creature for 1 red and 3 colorless, who has Raid. When Mardu Heartpiercer enters the battlefield, if you attack the creature this turn, Mardu Heartpiercer deals 2 damage to target creature or player.
Wow.
Which plays perfectly into like that Rakdos type of aggressive strategy. Attack first, save whatever I have in my hand, like remove for something I might have removal or whatever, and then summon more creatures after the battle has settled out.
What I like about it is that it allows, first of all, generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, playing cards either during or after your attack phases the way you want to do it. You want to save,
right.
Unless there's a particular spell, that to buff all your creatures before they attack, that you have to cast during your, that first main phase.
Right.
For the most part, yeah. And those are sorceries, and most of those don't see play anyways.
Right.
Not all of them, obviously, but a lot of them don't. So this is actually kind of teaching people good magic habits as well. And I like that.
Yeah. So like I said, that's all they have out at the moment as far as spoilers go, at least that I can find on the internet. But I'm kind of excited about this set. It's going to be a wedge set, which is interesting. Now they call it wedge, and they say the wedge is a color, one of its allied colors, and their mutual enemy color. But couldn't you just as easily describe a wedge as one color and its 2 enemy colors?
Yes.
I guess it depends on how it gets, like what the main focus of that wedge is. You know what I mean?
Well, I think the reason why they call it wedge is because it's the color, it's mutual buddy, right? And then it draws that line directly to the...
What? They call it a wedge because it looks like a pizza shape on the magic circle.
Right, on the magic circle.
I get why they call it a wedge. But I'm wondering if, because the way they define their wedge is a color, its ally, and their mutual enemy, as opposed to saying a color, its 2 enemy colors. So it makes me feel like one of the friendly colors is going to be the actual focus, like the main color. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, for instance, with the let's say the Jeskai wedge, you have blue, red, and white. Okay, so it's going to be mostly blue with a little bit of white. So you're going to see like blue-white Jeskai creatures and blue-red Jeskai creatures, but not really any red-white Jeskai creatures.
See, you might be reading a bit into it because I think a wedge is really just to explain how it falls onto the magic wheel of colors.
And I might be. I don't know. I just find it interesting the way they worded it specifically that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's just a descriptor so you have an idea of what colors are going to be in there, what they mean by wedge. Because it's not that clear unless you know what they're talking about.
Right, but I would have thought the easier way to say it would have been like a color and its 2 enemy colors.
6 in one, half dozen in the other, I guess. I mean, less words, I suppose, but...
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. But it looks really interesting, I think.
Right.
Yeah. Should be interesting to see how it goes. I'm interested to see how it plays out. Can't wait to get a whole nother set of cards, too. See what kind of awesomes they have in there. Put them in my deck, put them in my zombie deck, or my sliver deck. Which, when the slivers works out, it works out.
Yeah.
Now, I've been doing some... Because, for those of you who don't know, we... really just got back into Magic probably right around Return to Ravnica M14, before M14 released. At the end of Return to Ravnica, really, the last 2 blocks.
Really around Dragon's Maze for me.
Right, around Dragon's Maze. And so, we've had to go back and relearn a lot of some of the old cards from the older sets. And I think the meta... I'm kind of sad because the meta has for a long time been like this sort of control sort of strategy.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that changed pretty heavily in Innistrad.
Yeah, and I think Innistrad was different, but when Ravnica went back to being control.
Yeah, it went back to being control. So, I'm a little sad to see it going back to being control.
Someone's got their phone on.
That might have been me. I'm not sure, but you know, I'm sad to see it going back to control, and I'm sad that I missed Innistrad because I feel like Innistrad would have been a series that I really would have liked. I love the artwork on the cards, and I really like a lot of what they were doing, and I'm sad that I missed it really, but you know, Innistrad was very Zergy, you know, very
it was very aggressive and quick.
Beat the crap out of you as quickly as possible. You know, red and black sort of dominated.
Which I'm fine with.
Yep.
I think you're going to see a lot of that control go away. I mean, we'll have to see what comes out in Tarkir for sure, but as far as blue-white control goes, you're losing a lot of the, like, staple cards that blue-white control has used to dominate since the Ravnica block entered. You know what I mean? You're losing that Sphinx's Revelation for extra card draw and life gain. You're losing... what else I think? Like Mutavault is a card that they always play. It's going away. There's a lot of the any 4-drop board clear gone.
Oh really?
Yeah, unless there's one in Khadra Tarkir, there is no more 4-drop board clear. They still have some board clear, but you know, just nothing below 6 or 7. You know.
You know, that's really good. I'm a big fan of this. This gives, because I mean, if you don't have another way to deal with creatures up until that point, you're dead by turn 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it? What's that one dude? Aetherling. Out. He's gone. You know what I mean? So a lot of these standard blue-white control cards that they use now are exiting, and with the new wedge colors coming in, I mean, yeah, they have a one of the wedges set as control themed, and it's blue, white, blue, black, and green, or blue. Which one is it? Hold on. It's white, black, and green. It says, and you're gonna have a little more trouble controlling me with white, black, and green. I think with the absence of any sort of like counter spells and
the absence of blue.
And the tempo control that blue brings, you know.
Yeah.
Like, white, black, and green are going to have a little more trouble controlling me. Black's got a lot of good straight removal, you know, and white's got a lot of combat tricks, but I mean, we'll have to see what they've cooked up, but.
Well, that sounds really good. I think we should switch it up a little bit. We've been on this for a good while. Let's talk.
Tell me what I've been doing for a good while, motherfucker.
Well. Yeah, well, let's switch gears to movie. So, yeah.
So yeah, Amazing Spider-Man 2. The movie was horrible.
Yeah.
It has become the new movie by which I gauge the horribleness of other movies.
You know, that's not. Yeah, I do the same thing. Like when I see something like, well, it wasn't as bad as this.
Right.
So,
it used to be Priest. Amazing Spider-Man 2 surpassed that, and I now use it as the benchmark.
Oh,
for how bad
horrible.
movies were.
Oh. Well, hey, let's be honest though. It is a benchmark, but there are movies that have, I think, managed to dip below even Spider-Man. I shouldn't say movies. I should say movie, singular, that I can think of recently in recent history.
Dude,
Transformers was.
Okay, all right. No,
you're talking about the 3-hour-long one.
The 3-hour-long.
The one
Transformers 4. Yes.
Okay.
You are correct, sir.
Okay. Well, because
I don't consider the same iconic level of badness because we knew it was going to be horrible going in.
Yeah. But I mean, it's amazing because I still was surprised at some of the horrible things that were going on with that.
Yeah. And as offensive as Transformium was, and making all of the making the new Decepticons that they remade into like essentially Terminator 3 Terminators.
See, it looked like they turned them into apps.
T2 Terminators, right?
Like they acted like I would see something act on an iPhone, like check out this cool new game, blah blah blah.
Right. as offensive as all that was, I didn't hate it as much as I hated dubstep Tro. So.
Whew. Yeah.
Dubstep Tro, yes.
But let's face it, the Transformers 4 was horrible because it had absolutely also no plot line.
No.
Like the plot line was just lost. They just started going and then they just didn't stop for 3 hours and then it ended and you were like, what have we accomplished here today?
I like all the
Nothing.
research that they put into the Texas statute that allows the 16-year-old or the 17-year-old and the 21-year-old to still be dating that they went over while they were driving.
Yes.
Like, somebody did their homework on that, and that kind of creeps me out. But
No,
I think the only thing I really have to say is why do they still let Michael Bay direct movies? Why is this still allowed?
oh, because people pay stupid money to go see his thing. I mean, how many people saw Ninja Turtles?
Michael
Just
Bay
gonna jump right into it.
did not direct Ninja Turtles.
Didn't he? I thought he directed
produced-
Ninja Turtles.
He
That's
produced
because,
it.
that's because you're ignorant. He only produced Ninja
Don't
Turtles.
girl, man, we're on TV.
I know. That's why I have to say stuff like that so the world knows. Attention, world.
First of all, to the both
Writing
of you,
step only reads headlines.
Yeah, that's right.
both of you, we're not actually on TV, and you're both ignorant.
What?
Bro, I watch TV on my monitor. My voice is coming from my monitor. Therefore, I'm on TV.
Yeah. Walks like a duck. Yep. This is TV.
Try and follow my logic, bitch.
We're celebrities.
I don't need to. It's it's not even necessary in this case. But no, okay. I did not see Transformers. I knew it was going to be bad. I know you've talked at length as to why it was bad, and I can safely say I don't need to see it to know that it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
It has
pretty terrible.
no real redeeming factor.
Right, and as far as the Turtles movie goes, listen, it wasn't good. It was a bad movie.
It was a bad movie. I'm not going to argue that point.
It was a bad movie.
I haven't seen
Now-
it, so please feel free to spoil everything because I probably won't see it.
Unlike Roby, I had the decency to hate it.
The Turtles fight Shredder, and in the end they win. It's a Turtles movie. You've seen it. I mean, you may not have seen these particular graphics, but you've seen it. They fight Shredder, they win, and just everyone goes home.
Unlike Roby, I had the decency to not like it.
Yeah, we all heard it the first time you said it. Nobody laughed because it wasn't funny.
It's not about being funny. It's
And
about...
Also, no one acknowledged it because it wasn't right. So, you keep saying it if you want, but it doesn't matter. Okay?
Wait,
Here's the
why
point.
isn't it right? Why
Here
isn't
is
it
the
right?
point. Why don't you... Shh.
Make your point. Make your point.
This movie was horrible. It was bad. But I liked it for nostalgia reasons alone. Because for me, the Turtles were who I thought they should be. And... You alright over there, Chief?
Yeah, apparently.
Okay. So... Totally lost my train of thought. But the Turtles were who I thought they should be. Shredder was who I thought he should... Well, no, Shredder wasn't who I thought he should be. But the Turtles were who I thought they should be, and that, for me, was enough to make the movie enjoyable. You know, Raph was the brooding, like, asshole-ish loner guy. Leonardo was sort of the leader. They could have played him a little better than they did. Michelangelo, they overplay like they always do because he's the Joker.
Cowabunga.
They went with Donatello as a little differently. He's more like geeky and like tech gadgety, I think, than he normally is, at least in the cartoon. But I still liked him because he was the smart one, etc., etc. So,
Okay, what he's trying to say, for those of you who don't understand him, because I understand it can be difficult to understand when he's trying to make a point, is that this turd was kind of shaped like a duck, and so he didn't hate it as much as other turds. That's what he's trying to say.
Okay.
I
Seems
think it would
legit.
be more accurate to say that this turd was shaped like a boob because I don't like ducks, but I do like boobs. So
Boobs
since
are-
it kind of resembled a boob, I liked it enough that I didn't hate it. I didn't like it, but I didn't hate it. I would definitely go and watch it before I would go and watch Amazing Spider-Man 2 or Transformers again.
Well, okay, I can't disagree with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's all I'm saying. I would watch it before I went to see Lucy again.
Ooh.
Because
That's another
Lucy
movie I haven't seen.
was the
Here.
biggest turd to come out since the last time we podcasted.
Please explain.
Listen, it's the biggest turd because it had the most promise.
I was
Granted.
really wanting to see it. I was really looking forward to it.
I told you exactly what you could do if you want to simulate
I
watching
know.
this movie.
I know, and I've done that.
Take a dump, and you print out a picture of Scarlett Johansson, and you hold it up next to the dump, and then you stare at it for 95 minutes, and then you go home. Wait, sorry, you have to whisper. At the end, you have to whisper. Now you have the knowledge. You know what to do with it.
Whoa, from the flash drive that the mass
Oh
created.
gosh.
Okay. Did I spoil it? Oh.
No, listen. That was one of the most upsetting things to me. The sweet flash drive of the universe was okay. At the end, she has complete control of everything because she's basically God at this point. And
She's basically God 30 minutes into the movie.
right, and she decides to break down her cells and create a computer using stuff from nothing.
No, she doesn't break down her cells.
You're right.
The black goo just comes out of her. It just
Right.
appears from nowhere. Just black goo pouring out of her. I guess maybe she shat it out. I don't know. Because it kind of comes from the bottom of the chair.
Right.
So maybe she just pooped it all out.
She poops out a computer, and when the computer's
Well,
all
she puts
made,
out black goo that eats the other computers in the room. Because for some reason in this lab they have a ton of like just servers sitting around in the room because God knows that any lab in France just has servers just in the room to just chill there. And
Right.
it eats the servers at the end, and then makes its own supercomputer.
Right. Poops out a single flash drive.
A single flash drive.
That looks like it's it looks like you're
Yeah.
staring into the universe through a small rectangle.
Yeah, it's got a
So-
picture of the Milky Way on it. Yeah.
It's not a picture because it's like it moves
Right.
around.
It moves
looks like-
around and stuff. Yes.
Yeah, it's like you're looking at the universe in a little tiny rectangle, and then so it has this crazy mystical thing, and at the end is just a normal USB silver. It just looks ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Just ridiculous. That's not even mentioning like the actual sins with the movie. That's a minor annoyance in comparison to the rest of it.
Yeah. Well, it certainly didn't help out that the ending was absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
They try and generate this whole like action thriller vibe throughout the movie, but there's no drama
With the gangsters.
because right, they have Chinese gangsters in the beginning that they're Taiwanese. I don't know for sure. I think they're supposed to be in Taiwan, so they're Taiwanese gangsters. I don't know for sure. They're generic Asian bad guys.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. Castle.
They could be really any Asian because they're just there's nothing specific about them makes them a certain, nationality or whatever. So, and the main bad guy is played by the guy who played Old Boy. I can't remember his name right now. Choi Min-sik.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he plays the main bad guy of the Asian gangsters, and his talents are also wasted in this film. But anyway, they basically kidnap Lucy in the beginning, and they do a lot of like trying to set up the meta of the movie in the beginning by like, as Lucy's getting trapped into being this drug mule, they're showing you pictures of like gazelles, and then they'll show a picture of Lucy, and they'll cut to a picture of like cheetahs walking around, and they'll cut to a picture of the Chinese guys walking into the room, and you're like, oh look, she's the prey and they're the predator. Okay, we get it, but they did this for like 10 minutes. But we already got it. The first time you did it, we already drew the lines. We don't need to keep drawing them. Okay, we get it. She's prey, they're predators. We understand that.
Right.
But they hammered that in for way too long, and then afterwards, she gets the drugs, whatever. Some guy tries to rape her, ends up just kicking the shit out of her instead. And then it literally turns into a vampire movie or something? I don't know. The drugs go through her system, and she's like floating up the wall and on the ceiling. Like somehow the drugs are making her float. They're lighter than air.
Oh wow.
I don't know. I don't understand what's going on.
For a movie that goes into detail, well, I shouldn't say into great detail, but into some detail about what she's doing and how her abilities work, they don't explain that whatsoever.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. But for some reason, she like she's a Spider-Man all of a sudden. She's like climbing up the wall, like on the ceiling. I don't know what's going on.
No,
And
it's like
she's
The
just
Exorcist.
fine.
She's not climbing. She's just getting dragged along the side of the wall. Yeah, and then she's fine.
Like she's possessed or something. But by what? The drugs? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And it's just bad. Anyway, and then she comes in and starts just going ballistic and killing people and everything. And that part's pretty cool. I enjoyed that like 15-minute beginning of Chapter 2 segment.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where she goes to the hospital and all that, and then she visits her old roommate and learns to speak Chinese, and she calls her mom. I thought the phone call with her mom was really great.
Yeah, it was the best part of the movie.
Yeah. But then at this point, she's basically God at this point. And they still try and like bring in this element of danger from the generic Asian gangsters that just isn't there. You just don't ever feel it.
Because she's fucking invincible.
Right.
She can do whatever the hell she wants.
She can literally just snap her fingers and put everyone in the room to sleep. So how are you going to kill her? She's basically a Jedi Master. You know?
Interesting.
Right. But there's no lightsabers or other like bad Jedi.
Right.
I think you guys had referred to her as God.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's basically equivalent with the Jedi Master, right?
Imagine a Jedi in our time with a lightsaber and all the Jedi powers and nobody to stop him.
Right.
Yeah, okay. No, you're right.
Pretty much God at that point.
Yeah.
You know? But she's also omnipotent and knows everything. And there's like a scene where there's a car chase where she is literally like trying to get to the hospital because the Chinese gangsters have found some of the drugs. If she doesn't keep taking the drugs, she's going to die. It's going to overload her system and she's going to die. So she has to take all the drugs to break the 100% barrier and know everything there is to know. Unlock her mind entirely and become one with the universe or whatever. Okay?
Okay.
So she has to track down the 3 other drug mules. That's the plot of the story. Just her tracking down the 3 other drug mules. And in the process of trying to do that, one of them gets away. And they have to take him to the hospital, okay? And so she's like literally trying to drive her car through like Paris traffic or whatever. And it just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like there's so many people like die in that scene or get their cars destroyed for like no real purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's pretty silly.
And it's not even exciting. It's a boring car chase.
Because there's no like, oh, she could crash. No, she's
right.
so freaking good at everything. She's not going to crash. She's God.
Yes.
It's not going to happen. Like there's no like every time you think of something that might have some sort of suspense or thriller sort of aspect to it, it just gets shut down by the fact that she's unstoppable.
Yeah. In the end, she gets the rest of the drugs and is going in with Morgan Freeman to to take the rest of the drugs, unlock her full potential, and become the goo computer and give him the USB stick of God.
Computer.
Which will then immediately lead to Bruce Almighty directly after this, because Morgan Freeman has the God stick and becomes God. So this is actually a prequel to Bruce Almighty.
Okay. That makes perfect sense to me. I'm down with that now.
Which makes Bruce Almighty interesting because it's the better movie.
Correct.
The sequel.
But while she's there, okay, the Chinese gangsters are pulled up outside the museum because they know that she's there, the lab, wherever they are. And she, they are literally, in the middle of the street, unpiling automatic weapons, in plain view of everything. Just unloading automatic weapons out of the trunk of this car. And there are cops just standing around outside,
hanging out,
them, just watching them, some going into the building, but they're just watching them from across the street. I'm like, those guys are unloading AK-47s. You're just gonna let them do it? You know you're here to stop Asian gangsters.
No.
And you're just gonna let them unload all the weapons and stuff, and then get ready to come at you? What the f is going on? For real?
Right.
Oh.
And Lucy knows the whole time.
Yeah. And so instead of Lucy just using her godlike powers, putting everybody to sleep, and then going about her business, she's like, hey, why don't you French police officers go die? They're literally, just go die for me while I finish making a goo computer.
Oh god, I almost got up and walked out at that point.
Please
So I was like, for
sacrifice
real?
yourselves for my Go computer.
Right. It's gonna be good. Your sacrifice will be worthwhile. No, at no point is it worthwhile. You can just snap your fingers and no one's in any danger. Done. It'll take you 10 seconds to walk outside and snap your fingers. Just do it.
Right.
It was so bad. Oh,
like,
made me angry.
The thing I liked about it was that, or I shouldn't say I liked about the movie because I really didn't like it. But the thing, the base concept of this girl changing and like getting these new powers and everything, it's a neat idea and it's a neat plot. But I think you need to take out all the thriller bullcrap because it just doesn't belong. It does, if she's gonna be that powerful, it doesn't belong in that movie. And as me and Roby said, make it like a mindfuck story. Make it
which is kind of what I thought it was going to be in the beginning. Like, I understood there might have been that danger aspect of the gangsters, but, making someone God 30 minutes into the movie and then still using them, like you said, like you guys have been saying, as the, oh no, she might not make it. I don't know, make it more of something, I don't know. Yeah, I would have preferred it to be a science movie as opposed to this type of movie.
Or make it a sci-fi drama and give her the Dr. Manhattan issue to deal with.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
So far above humanity that does she even care about them? Why should she even care about them?
Right.
Do some sort of like philosophical questioning involved and make it a drama. Make it a good movie. Don't try and give us action when there's absolutely zero danger.
I did not expect as much action when I went in to see the movie, and then when I realized that was the plot of it, it just became a sad, sorry sack of shit. So it's unfortunate. It was unfortunate because Scarlett Johansson herself actually did a great job as Lucy.
I thought she did a good job too.
Yeah, she has
her
some
breasts
acting
made
chops.
a great showing as well.
They were there.
Lie.
They were there. They're
Great showing.
attached to her body, despite the rumors. They actually do travel with her.
I don't believe it. I'd have to see it. Any proof?
But she did a great job as Lucy, and I just felt like her talents were wasted terribly in this particular flick.
Yeah. Well, that's disappointing. But another movie that came out that I was really hoping to see, and I was really hoping that would be good, ended up being really good, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
I love Guardians of the Galaxy. That was awesome. We even had a notorious hater with us who put on the show of hating, but he really liked it.
Yeah. He didn't even try that hard to convince us that he hated it.
No, he didn't.
Which is how you know that he actually liked it.
Yeah. Or you'd hear him laugh in the movie. I'd turn over and look at him, and he's laughing, and then he sees me looking at him. He's like, straight face.
Straight face. That's not funny, bro.
That's not funny, bro. So, okay, here's a lot of my, I guess my concerns with Guardians have been, I don't know, I guess, my concerns with Guardians were this, first of all. I loved the movie. I loved, specifically, Gamora.
Yeah.
Gamora is one of my favorite characters from the Marvel Universe, because I really like the whole Thanos and the cosmic being sort of like storyline that they had going in the comics. But I loved Gamora. I loved a lot of her origin comics I had, and I really enjoyed. And they really didn't explore her origin very much. Now, this was a big concern for me at first because I think she deserved more screen time to really set up this whole idea of her betraying Thanos, because it was a big thing, in the comics for her to betray Thanos.
Yeah, they kind of blew it off like it was nothing in the movie.
They did. But the reason being, I think, and hopefully this happens, as Roby told me, he's like, this just gives them more room to explore it more in the future. They've introduced the character, who she is, what she does, and now they can go more into it later on, during the lead up to the Infinity War. So
yeah, I think she's the character who has the most complex backstory.
Yeah,
everybody else has backstory. Rocket's got backstory. I assume Groot from the comics has a lot of backstory.
Yes.
Quill's got backstory, and Drax's backstory probably is the least complicated and the least interesting, in reality.
Yeah.
His family was killed by Thanos, and he is now Russell Crowe, a.k.a. Gladiator, on a mission to kill Thanos. Done. I mean, that's the essence of his backstory. There's not a lot of depth to go into there. Gamora, though, has the most interesting backstory in that she was raised by Thanos as a girl, and there was a lot of tender moments in there, as well as making you into an assassin, a cyborg assassin killing machine.
She doesn't hate Thanos, not by a long shot. She still has a lot of fond memories of him, but they're always tainted sort of by this terribleness that he forced upon her.
Well, yeah, I mean, Thanos turned his daughters into abominations. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and by that token, in reality, I feel like, what was her name? The other bad guy.
Oh.
Nebula.
Yes, Nebula.
I can't believe I forgot her name, but I felt like Nebula actually had the better line in the movie where she talks about betraying Thanos and it just how look what he did to me and all this good stuff. It just ended up being that one line I felt gave her more depth in this movie than Gamora.
Yeah.
But I think that leaves like you said, Ruby. I think that they have a lot of room to explore that further, and I'm pretty happy.
A lot of people want to compare this movie to the Avengers, and you just can't do that.
No.
Because the Avengers had a lot of setup. Thor had his own movie, Captain America had his own movie, Iron Man had 2 movies under his belt by then, right?
Yep.
So you already knew these 3 characters, and you'd already seen, Agent Coulson, you've already seen, Samuel L. Jackson. I'm not even going to call him
Black
Nick Fury
Widow
because he's not. You've already seen Black Widow.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen Hawkeye in the Thor movie, so you've seen these people before. They you have some idea who they are, and this is really Avengers was like a conglomeration, a molding of all these stories together. But in Guardians, they're introducing 5 new characters at the same time, people you've never met before, and shoving them together and trying to make them into a team. And I thought they did a really fantastic job of doing that.
I think they could have done better, but I think it was still pretty good because I think honestly we could leave out some of Quill's backstory with the Marauders, I think they were called.
The Ravagers.
Yeah, the Ravagers.
Yeah. We can leave out some of the backstory with the Ravagers. We don't need as much of that, and put in more of the backstory for Gamora, and then explore more backstory with Groot and Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah, I really.
See, that's why I'm looking forward to the other one.
Because we don't have to cover the Ravagers as much.
One. Right. We can do away with some of that, and we can see some of the other backstory. Like Rocket's got a really interesting backstory.
He does.
Because he's basically just a lab experiment.
Yeah, and they touched on that, in the movie too. It really bugs him about that. He's the only one like that and stuff like that.
Well, again, because that single line that he had, or I should say monologue he had about his, his origins, I think gave him more explored depth, but not potential depth.
Yeah, you understood the emotion of more than just he likes to shoot things. There's actually more to it than just a furry little fuzzy running around.
Right. He likes guns because it becomes a source of I don't want to say stress relief, but of an outlet for him.
Right.
Explosions and guns and violence in reality. Where Gamora really just had, hey, I'm the daughter of Thanos and I'm trying to get out.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Right.
That's all that was really explored.
I'm fine with the Gamora story, like I said. I think they can go into it later, and maybe they never do. I don't know. I've learned to live with my disappointments of things not being the same because from Game of Thrones, but my one complaint about this movie is the same complaint I have about a lot of Marvel movies, is that Ronan the Accuser was sort of bland.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that. He seemed kind of like a molded generic little bad guy. They
played him up to this badass, evil, monstrous terrorist machine of killing or whatever, and he just kind of wandered around the whole movie and bitched and moaned.
Yeah, they really didn't give a lot of backstory to Ronan, unfortunately, and he deserved it.
Right.
Because in the comic books, Ronan is a really cool character.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of him. He's a Kree nationalist and fanatic, and they didn't even really try and play that up that much.
He is an accuser in the book too.
Yeah.
He is the head accuser in the comic books, and in the comics he's a major player in a lot of different events, because the Kree Empire and the Shire Empire and the Skrull Empire are bigger things.
They're huge. They're the three main like spacefaring races that exist.
Right.
Yeah. I wonder if we're gonna see anything. We're not gonna see much of the Shi'ar. I don't think, unfortunately.
My guess is we'll never see any of the Shi'ar.
And that's mainly because they existed mostly within the X-Men comics.
Right.
Yeah, and thank you, Sony. Just saying.
Fuck you very much, Sony.
Yep.
Fox. Wow. Okay, I was like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, hopefully our stream is going to be all crappy now, but whatever if it is, I apologize.
It probably, I'm like been talking and everything just went silent. I hear the static. I'm like, what? I'm like, guys, hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Sorry about that. We're back.
Yeah, no, Fox owns the X-Men.
Yeah.
And Sony owns Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, basically, we're not going to probably see a lot of the Shi'ar because of that.
Right.
You might see some of the Skrull, though.
It's true.
I kind of hope so.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they do the Skrull.
Well, I'm hoping this because... Actually, wait, who owns the rights to Fantastic Four?
Ooh.
Fox?
No.
Oh, is it?
Okay, we might not see a lot of the Skrull either. They were heavily featured in the Fantastic Four.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Fox still owns Fantastic Four as well.
Aren't they planning to relaunch that, if I heard correctly?
Yep.
Oh,
They are.
why?
We've already cast it. We're not going to talk about it right now, though.
No, that's another thing for another day.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I think we're just about wrapped up at the most part, for the most part.
There's something else I wanted to say, and then we got interrupted. I don't remember what it was. I was headed somewhere.
About the three major spacefaring races.
Oh yeah. Well, Ronan is like a lot of the Marvel villains. Ronan was just sort of disappointing. I would have liked to have seen him they have the one scene in the beginning where he crushes that dude's head and then his blood drains out of him or whatever. That was pretty cool.
Crunch. Yeah, that was actually pretty cool.
But that wasn't enough.
No.
And he wasn't very I don't know. He needed villains are super important.
Well, there's a lot of pitfalls in it too. I mean, I agree with you. Villains are super important, and this one was bland.
Right.
Well, they really could have done up Ronan a lot better. They don't even necessarily need to go more into his character, but they needed to go at least more into the Kree. Would have helped a ton.
Right. Going into the Kree at all would have helped.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they needed to think about it like someone who has no idea about the comic universe, understands that it is a comic book, didn't really look much, maybe IMDb, or not IMDb, but Wikipedia.
Right.
Walking into it, I would have absolutely no idea. All I know is be like, hey, those guys look like the guys from Avengers. That's it. Yeah. That would have been it.
They went more into the Xandarians than anything else.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, the Xandari.
Let's hit on a couple of quick rumors before we go.
Sure.
Sounds good.
I read an article that said the Doctor Strange movie that is coming out will not be an origin story.
Interesting. I'm okay with this.
It's going to be like, boom, here's Doctor Strange. He does magic. Go.
I'm okay with this. Okay. I'm okay with this. And let me tell you why. The most interesting parts of the Doctor Strange comic book were never his origin story.
Correct.
They were pretty. I don't want to say bland because they weren't necessarily bland. They just weren't that riveting.
Right.
They weren't that interesting. His story is basically, hey, there's a super powerful mage. Oh, super powerful mage is going to die. You are now the super powerful mage apprentice. Now you're a super powerful mage.
Yep.
Well, fair enough.
Done. Yeah, story done.
We can easily cover the whole origin in a 4 to 5 minute flashback and done.
Right.
And let's move on with Doctor Strange being awesome.
Doctor Strange is an interesting character. I mean, don't get me wrong. A lot of Marvel characters seen a lot of crossover into other comics all the time. It happens constantly. But Doctor Strange is an interesting one because not only did he have his own comic, but he appeared probably, I would say, more than just about any other superhero in other comics and other,
Right.
That's true. He did jump around a lot.
He was all the time teaming up with Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four and Avengers, everybody.
Yeah, he was all over the place, and that's mainly because I think that as far as occult superheroes go, he was it for the Marvel universe. He had the most experience in that.
Yeah.
There were others, but he was by far the most veteran of them.
Doctor Strange and Ghost Rider had some really good team-ups, too.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, they did.
Well, that's because a lot of their enemies were the same. So,
yeah.
A lot of, I guess, the skeletons in Ghost Rider's closet, were also enemies of Doctor Strange on a regular basis.
Yep.
Kind of sidetracking here, same universe, but do you know if they're going to do another Hulk movie? Like independent or solo Hulk movie with the new Hulk guy?
My understanding is yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm actually looking forward to that.
I am
Me too. Ruffalo, man, I tell you what.
He nailed it.
He was so good. And I enjoyed the very first Hulk movie. I'm one of the only people on the planet.
Yeah.
The second Hulk movie I liked a lot. The action I thought was better, but Bruce Banner was, I think, even weaker, which sucks because I'm a huge Ed Norton fan.
Yeah.
But Ruffalo, I was not expecting anything from this guy. His previous career involved a lot of made-for-TV rom-coms.
Yeah, I'd never heard of him until this movie.
Yeah, I was not looking for anything, when I heard that he was going to be Bruce Banner. And, man, was he so good. So good.
Yeah.
Nobody's done Bruce Banner as well as he has.
I would like for them to do something where they make the Hulk smart. The Hulk's had many different incarnations. And
True.
Some of them are a Banner Hulk mix, where he has the Hulk strength and all that, but he's also Banner at the front.
The Grey Hulk?
As well. Like Grey Hulk. There was a Green Hulk for a while as well. That was that way, too. And because the Grey Hulk was sort of an evil dick. He was smart, but he wasn't really Bruce Banner.
Right. Well,
but there was a Green Hulk after that, where he was Bruce Banner.
It's probably not going to happen that way. I think before they do anything, because Marvel is really is hitting hard on the comics that they've revamped recently. Well, I shouldn't say super recently, but in the recent history, and really kind of put a new focus on. If they do another Hulk version, it's going to be red.
Yeah, I could see that.
I could see him doing the whole Thunderbolts comic in general. That would be interesting to do.
That'd be fun. I'd enjoy that.
Oh, yeah.
Here's my ultimate hope for the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe. Okay? We eventually get everyone together under one roof. We bring the X-Men back in. We bring the Fantastic Four back in. We bring Spider-Man back in. And then 15 years from now, they release a series of what-if movies.
Oh,
my gosh.
Oh.
That would be...
I want to see it.
Fantastic.
Amazing, because I loved the what-if stories.
Yeah, me too. Me too. My favorite what-if story was if Silver Surfer had actually got the Infinity Gauntlet from Thanos.
Yeah.
That was a really good one. But
I liked the what if the Punisher got infected with the black spider suit instead of Venom.
Yeah, instead of Venom. Oh my god.
Man.
Oh jeez, that was so good.
Yeah.
Wait, what? I missed that one. Say that again. You say Hulk and the Venom?
No, what if Punisher had gotten the symbiote instead of Eddie?
Whoa. Mine's blown. I want to see that.
And then he went all berserk, Punisher, half Spider-Man, half Punisher. He was awesome.
Oh.
I mean, I'm not a big Punisher guy. The straight up brutality of Punisher or whatever is it's just not my cup of tea. But this what if was really good.
The reason why I didn't like the Punisher is because he was basically a more violent, less intelligent version of Batman.
Right.
And that's just not interesting,
Yeah, he wasn't as complex as a character.
Right.
But he was just a thug killer to me. I mean, I love the Punisher. He was fun. He was assassin. He looked all cool. Had all his toys had cool knives and stuff on them. But I don't know. There really wasn't a whole lot. His story was just sad. I mean, I don't know.
Well, and every time he did anything remotely cool, it was really not effective. Like one of the coolest things that he's ever done, at least in my opinion. This was a number of years back, but at one point, Hawkeye is fighting Deadpool. And Deadpool is kind of being framed as a bad guy at this point, but he's not at this point. Anyways, well, he like walked out of a building, and the Punisher just blows his head off, like literally blows his head off. But it's Deadpool, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Oh, I think they're making a Deadpool video game.
They've already done that.
The video game is out.
Yeah, they've already done that.
Man, I need to catch up.
But what they've recently released is a Deadpool trailer for a...
Yes, that's it.
It's a concept trailer, so it's not a trailer for an actual movie, unfortunately. But it's a trailer, as a concept because they want to make the movie. The trailer was actually really entertaining.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was hilarious.
Really good, yeah.
You need right now to calm down. Okay.
Why?
Take a moment, assess the situation. Because Fox owns the rights to Deadpool.
Oh, that's right. No Wolverine crap.
Listen. I get this, but the guy, I can't remember the guy they had who made the freaking trailer, because he was the guy who wants to direct it. He's the one who's pushing for it. So if it gets done, it'll probably be him who's doing it. And I can't remember what else he's done. I just remember seeing his resume and going, that guy could do a good job. And he's the one who directed the concept trailer for it, which was really good. So,
but he had creative control in the concept trailer.
He did. So
he won't have creative control for the movie.
As much. If he still directs it, it can still be good. Don't get me wrong. Fox has been pretty bad about it, but I feel like a lot of their issue is that it's coming from people who aren't fans of the comic book. This guy's a fan of Deadpool, a fan of the comic book. So I think if they give him more creative control over it, over the writing and directing of it, it could be very good. It could be very good. I don't think everything Fox touches goes to shit. Just a lot of things. And so far, every comic book thing.
I'm not saying that they do. But I'm not sure that having a fan is always the best idea to direct it either. But because every fan has their own interpretation of it.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say you're wrong, but I feel like, as far as the comic books go, especially for comic books in reality, if you're not a fan, you're gonna fuck it up entirely. At least a fan's going to get a lot of the basic concepts right, because there are some just prevailing themes in these comic books, and in these characters that need to be nailed. And a lot of those themes are sort of universal, even as subjective as something as an opinion.
Yeah, all right. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying lots of times, even fans, and I mentioned it because everyone mentions that as a good reason why J.J. Abrams is going to do great on Star Wars 7, and I'm like, I don't know about that.
I think he's going to be great on Star Wars 7 because he's already made 2 great Star Wars movies.
Tori, I'm on the Facebook page for Random Subject Generator, and Tori's got a good thing on there. He said Fox is going to make a PG-13 Deadpool.
Yeah, they probably will. At which point, it'll be a waste of everyone's time to go.
If they do that, yeah, it's done for. If they follow that concept trailer even remotely, it'll be good. But if they decide to make it PG-13 and not hyper-violent, because honestly, Deadpool is hyper-violent.
Yeah.
He's
right. One last thing before we go. They have started production on the Ant-Man movie.
Oh, okay. I heard that got canceled.
I expect Ant-Man to be Marvel's first flop.
Ooh.
I don't think you're wrong there, unfortunately. Ant-Man was... Well, here's my problem. I don't know why they're not making it Hank Pym. It works. It works so well with what they're doing with the next Avengers movie.
No, I'm with you.
It ties in amazingly well. And that was really Hank Pym's biggest, most interesting thing in the comic books was that he was the wayward creator of Ultron.
Yeah.
You know, and it was super interesting, and the play between him and Ultron in the beginning, and then between Ultron and the Wasp, because
I will tell you why they're not doing Hank Pym.
Okay.
Recently, in the comics, Hank Pym has been involved in domestic abuse of his wife, the Wasp.
Oh Christ.
And as a result of that, they don't want to make it Hank Pym.
Way to fuck that up, Marvel. Damn it.
So they're making it Scott Lang instead, who's going to be played by Paul Rudd. Which...
No. Come on, guys. Paul Rudd is...
I think Paul Rudd can... No, Paul Rudd can handle it.
He could do it. He has a...
Paul Rudd's a man. He can handle that shit.
He's not just funny. He's also a good actor.
He's a good actor.
True.
I've seen Paul Rudd in a lot of non-funny stuff I really enjoyed him in.
Right.
So Paul Rudd's not my problem. He can handle that, I think. I think he can do a good job.
The problem is that Ant-Man is kind of lame.
Right.
Yeah.
He's kind of lame, and he's
I was
not
never a
really
big
well
fan.
known. And so, I mean, they did it with Guardians. Okay, they took like a not very well known property, and just bam, made it into a hit movie. I'm not sure lightning will strike twice with Ant-Man. I just don't think it will. I mean, it's going to make money because it's a Marvel property, and a lot of people will go and see it just
I'll
for
see
that.
it. I'll see it for that reason. Well, that and I have, some investment that goes beyond the movies themselves. But, I mean, listen, I'm not going to disagree with you because I think there's a very good chance you're right. But if it flops, I don't think it's going to flop because it was a bad movie. I think it's going to flop because, in concept, Ant-Man is lame.
Correct.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's even a lot of Marvel fans are probably not going to go see Ant-Man because, come on.
I was never a real big fan of him anyway. Like, when I heard they were doing an Ant-Man movie, I was like, oh, yay.
Right. Like,
So-
why not? Why not somebody good instead?
Yeah.
Give us Morbius.
Oh, jeez. Morbius. Well, you know what? You don't hold out hope. They're doing another Blade movie, and if they do that, Morbius could be right around the corner.
That's true. That's true.
Dude, I would love to see a Morbius movie. Or, like, give us a good Deathlock movie.
Oh, jeez.
Always
Well, Deathlock's locked up in a series at this moment, so it's not likely to happen, unfortunately.
Meh. I've never even finished watching that show. I probably should.
Well, they did a decent job with Deathlock by the end of it, but man, it was touch and go. It was touch and go.
Yeah.
But by the end of it, they did a good job setting up who Deathlock's going to be, and maybe he'll appear in the movies. So who knows? Who knows? I don't know if the guy that got to do Deathlock is silver screen material, to be honest, though.
Fair enough.
Just saying. But
Well,
let's
I
see.
think that's going to cover for tonight. We've been at this for at least a while. Our triumphant return.
Right, the season 2. So
Season 2 premiere, baby. What's up?
Right.
Now we get to feel special because we have 2 seasons.
yeah,
This is history in the making. Our Facebook page has got 7 likes.
we have a
got
Facebook
conversation.
page.
Yeah, I've been
have
doing it
7
while
likes.
we've been here. Yeah, we got 7 likes.
Wow.
So we're not going to be able to call ourselves Undiscovered Podcast.
How many of them
for a
are
while.
real people?
All of them.
And how many of them are your fake bot accounts?
Hey, well, my fake bot accounts are real accounts.
Vote manipulation, banned
Real
for
to
life. Vote manipulation.
Vote manipulation.
I got a good thing we can end it on here.
So, besides Tori, who else is that?
What Chris is commenting on, he wants to know when he can call into the live show.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought I would probably set up some sort of chat room or something
Well,
hopefully next time.
Next week, I want you guys to look forward to real life drama. I want to talk a little bit about the Zoe Quinn thing next week.
Oh yeah, we were
Yeah,
going to touch on it
let's-
next week, but
We'll give those of you who are listening some time to do a little bit of research into it, and then
Zoe Quinn.
yeah, because I think it deserves a little bit more research and honestly a little bit more development time because it's not done yet.
Right.
Before we talk about it, so
I'll talk about the Code Hatch Starforge thing as well, and indie funding, like Kickstarter sort of thing in general, because there's a lot of stuff going on with that as well.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind touching on a little bit.
Oh, I'll also look forward to next week, us not talking about the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge.
Yeah. Let's not talk about social norms right now and social media bullying, making people do this.
We're not
charity
talking about
terrorism.
We're not.
Charity terrorism. Okay.
Charity terrorism.
If you do the Ice Bucket Challenge, the terrorists win.
Charity terrorism.
That's the least American thing you can do right now.
Just
Donate money to ALS. Don't post about it on Facebook. Don't take a shitty video of you pouring water on yourself. Don't let the terrorists win.
My camera's HD.
The terrorists win if you take the Ice Bucket Challenge.
Terrorists win.
I guess we'll close it out on that, guys.
No, we're gonna close it out on Howard the Duck. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, no, we're not.
God damn it!
Go ahead, shut it down. Shut it down. It's over.
We're done.